It turns out when you take away the money they're receiving fraudulently, they get very upset. It's really come as quite a shock to me that there's this level of violence from the left. They basically want to kill me because I'm stopping their fraud. I think they're getting desperate because the reason we're seeing this extreme amount of hatred and violence is because we're actually succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste. If we weren't succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste, they wouldn't care. But we are succeeding. Without President Trump, this would be impossible. And they want to hurt Tesla because we're stopping this terrible waste and corruption in the government. They're bad people. Bad people will do bad things. I always thought Democrats were supposed to be the party of empathy, the party of caring, and yet they're burning down cars, they're firebombing dealerships, they're firing bullets into dealerships, they're smashing up Teslas. Tesla is a peaceful company. We've never done anything harmful. I've never done anything harmful. I've only done productive things. There's some kind of mental illness thing going on here because this doesn't make any sense. I think there are larger forces at work as well. I mean, I don't know who's funding it and who's coordinating it because this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this. The government waste and fraud is so high that it's causing a $2 trillion annual deficit. So that's $2,000 billion of waste and fraud that's happening. And the cost of our debt has gotten so high that just the interest payments on the debt exceed the entire military budget. And it was just growing out of control. So the country was going bankrupt. It's just, country is no different from a person. If a country overspends and doesn't spend wisely, just like a person, a country will go bankrupt. The reason I'm here is because I'm very worried about America going bankrupt due to the corruption and waste. If we don't do something about it, the ship of America is going to sink. We're all on that ship. And this may be a message to people out there who are wealthy, have a lot of means, or control companies. It's like, just remember, we're all in ship America here. Your company is not going to exist if the ship of America sinks. And we should do everything we possibly can to ensure that America is strong for far into the future. It's only possible with this president. We've got this narrow window of opportunity with a House, Senate, a popular vote, and really, we're just implementing the will of the people. We've got this window where we can finally take corrective action. We can fix the government, fix the country, create a great future. And again, that's only possible because of President Trump. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most. And we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact. Thanks to the excellent work of the SpaceX team working with NASA, the astronauts are now safely home. A huge note of appreciation to President Trump for prioritizing and expediting their return. We definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. We are going to be able to take astronauts to Mars. I think we've gotten, at this point, to where the vehicle is very reliable. In fact, we want to take anyone who goes to Mars and ultimately build a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. That is the long-term goal of the company. Make life multiplanetary.
How long do you think that might take SpaceX to be able to accomplish?
I think we could do it in 20 to 30 years. Well, I think we'll have tremendous breakthroughs when we establish a city or a base and then a city on Mars, because we'll have to overcome so many challenges that it'll serve as a forcing function for the development of new technologies that will have tremendous benefits to people on Earth. Starship is the first rocket that has the potential to make life multiplanetary, to make us a multi-planet civilization for the first time in the history of Earth. And that's truly profound.
I have a philosophy of curiosity. I want to find out the nature of the universe, understand the universe. And in order to do that, we have to travel to other planets, see other star systems, maybe other galaxies, find perhaps other alien civilizations, or at least the remnants of alien civilizations. Gain a better understanding of where is this universe going, where did it come from, and what questions do we not yet know to ask about the answer that is the universe.
What year does man first set foot on Mars?
The soonest would be 29.
29.
Yes. And I don't think it's more than 2 to 4 years beyond that. Yes, best case would be 29. I don't think we're going to find aliens. We may find the ruins of a long-dead alien civilization. That's possible. And we may find subterranean microbial life. That's possible. The important thing is that we build a self-sustaining city on Mars as quickly as possible. The the key threshold is when that city can continue to grow, continue to prosper, even when the supply ships from Earth stop coming. At that point, even if something would happen on Earth, it might not be World War III, but it might be that
A bad virus.
yeah, it might not be anything. What I'm saying is, it's like say civilization could die with a bang or a whimper. It may be that civilization dies with a whimper rather than a bang, and simply loses the ability to send ships to Mars. But so you obviously need Mars to become self-sustaining and be able to grow by itself before the resupply ships from Earth stop coming. That is the critical civilizational threshold beyond which the probable lifespan of civilization is much greater. I think it can be done in 20 years. A few people running around the surface in a hostile environment is not going to make it self-sustaining. So you're going to need on the order of 1 million people, maybe 1 million tons of cargo.
We could have 1 million people on Mars in 20 years.
Yes. Well, you need to recreate the entire base of industry of Earth. You know, we're here at the top of a massive pyramid of industry that starts with mining a vast array of materials, those materials going through hundreds of steps of refinement. We grow food, obviously. We grow trees. We make things out of the trees. You've got to build all that on Mars. And Mars is a hostile environment. It's it sometimes gets above zero on a warm summer day near the equator on Mars. Really, it's quite cold. In the beginning, on Mars, you have to have a life support habitation module.
Right.
Like you can't just live outdoors. You can't breathe the air.
Like a dome, you think, is likely?
Yeah, glass domes type of thing. What might be Arcadia Planetaire is one of the good options. That's one of my daughters is named Arcadia after that. My eldest son's middle name is Ares, Mars. My eldest kid, his middle name is essentially Mars. He's 20 now, turning 21 soon.
So this is a decades-old dream.
So like when you were 10, did you look up and say, I'm going to Mars?
No. No, I read a lot of science fiction books and programmed computers. But the first video game that I sold was a space video game called Blastar. Maybe I was born this way. Yeah, so I studied physics and economics in college, which is a good foundation for understanding how the economy works and how reality works. And then was going to do a PhD at Stanford in advanced ultracapacitors, actually, as a potential means of energy storage for electric transport. Put that on hold to start an internet company. I essentially came to the conclusion that the internet was one of those rare things, and I could either watch it happen while a grad student or participate. And I figured I could always go back to grad school. Yeah. You know, grad school is going to be kind of the same, but I couldn't bear the thought of just watching the internet happen. So I wanted to be a part of building it. So I created an internet company. We did the first maps, directions, yellow pages, white pages on the internet. I actually wrote the first version of software just by myself in '95. We ended up selling that to Compaq, Texas company, I guess, for about $300 million in cash, about 4 years after I graduated. And I should say, just to preface that, I graduated with about $100,000 in student debt. And when I first arrived in North America, I arrived with $2,500, a bag of books, and a bag of clothes. Well, I got $21 million, blackjack. But I wanted to do more on the internet, so started a company called X.com, which merged with a company called Confinity, which is Peter Thiel and Max Levchin.
Yep. And
the combined company was actually at first still called X.com, but we later changed the name of the company to PayPal. Because of all the name changes, it's kind of confusing. But the company that people know as PayPal today was actually, I filed those incorporation documents for that company.
Interesting.
Now, obviously, Peter was involved in a coup. We had a little sort of knifing in the Senate situation where, that they did coup me at PayPal. I mean, I was doing a lot of sort of risky moves that I think ultimately would have been successful, but I then went on a 2-week trip, which was a dual money-raising trip and honeymoon. And so I'd not done my honeymoon earlier in the year. So I was raising money while doing a honeymoon. It worked.
It worked. There you go.
It worked. I raised money.
Yeah.
And we had a honeymoon.
There you go.
So, yeah. But you don't want to be away from the battle when things are scary. So I was not there to assuage the concerns of the troops. Anyway, we patched things up and have been friends nonetheless. And, these days I'll stay at his house and stuff. So obviously we're friends. And he's also invested in most of my company. So I think you have to start with some sort of philosophical premise in order to be highly motivated. You have to have some philosophical foundation. In my case, it was that we want to expand the scope and scale of consciousness to better understand the nature of the universe. Mm-hmm. And in order to expand consciousness, we need to go beyond one planet. If we're on one planet, there's too much risk. Hopefully Earth civilization prospers very far into the future, but it may not. There's always some risk that we self-annihilate through nuclear war, or that there's a big meteor that takes us out like the dinosaurs.
Yep.
There's always some risk if all your eggs are in one basket, so it's going to be better if we're a multi-planet species. And then once we're a multi-planet species, the next step would be to be multi-stellar and have civilization on many different star systems. So in 2001, I didn't think I could start a rocket company. So I thought I'd take some of the money from PayPal. And in that case, I think it was about $180 million after tax, something like that. And I thought, I don't need $180 million, so I'll spend a bunch of it on a philanthropic Mars mission to get the public excited about going back to Mars. Or going to Mars, I should say.
Yeah.
Mars was always going to be the destination after the moon.
Right.
In fact, if you told people in 1969 that it would be 2025, and we've not even gone back to the moon, let alone Mars, they'd be like, "What happened? Did civilization collapse?"
Stop. Yeah.
Like they would be incomprehensible that we've not been to Mars by now. If you told people this after landing on the moon in '69. Well, we destroyed the Saturn V rocket that could take people to the moon, and had the space shuttle, which could only go to low Earth orbit. And then there really hasn't been anything to replace. No vehicle has been made since then that can go to the moon or to Mars until the SpaceX Starship rocket.
Yeah.
So can't go to Mars if you don't have the ride. It's hard to believe that this is all real. Because originally, consistent with my belief that we need to become a multi-planet species, I thought the only way to do that would be through NASA. So, and I thought, well, if I can just get the public excited about Mars, then they'll do a mission to Mars. Mm-hmm. So initially, my thought was to send a small greenhouse with seeds in dehydrated nutrient gel, then land the greenhouse, hydrate the seeds, and you see the sort of money shot. The money shot would be green plants on a red background.
Yeah.
I also recently learned that money shot has a different meaning in some other arenas. But what I'm trying to say is the captivating shot would be the green plants on a red background. Yeah. And that hopefully that would, if we did something like that, that would get the public excited about Mars, that would increase NASA's budget, and then we could send people to Mars. Like, the original plan was literally to take a bunch of the money from PayPal, and I guess by some people's definition, waste it with no profit on a non-profit thing. I wanted to spend a whole bunch of my money for free to get NASA's budget to be bigger so we could go to friggin' Mars.
Right.
Wow.
That's what I wanted. All right, it gets crazier. So then I couldn't afford any of the U.S. rockets because, as you know, the U.S. rockets are way too expensive. The Boeing Lockheed rockets are crazy money. I didn't have. I didn't even with 180 million. There's no way I could have afforded. With the additional stage to get to Mars, it would have been about like 80 million. So technically, I could have afforded one of them, but I wanted to do two in case one of them didn't work.
Yeah.
So and then I didn't have enough money for that.
Yeah.
And I was sort of prepared to, I don't know, waste half the money. And I figured if I had 90 million left, that'd be fine, but ideally not all of it. So I went to Russia twice to try to buy ICBMs, the Russian rocket forces.
Does that work?
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to Russia to buy some ICBMs. I might not return, depends on the situation.
Literally.
Yeah. So it gets slightly less insane when you understand that the Russians had to demolish a bunch of their ICBMs because of SALT talks, like the peace, because of basically an agreement between the United States and Russia to reduce the total number of ICBMs.
Sure.
Russia was actually obligated to scrap a bunch of their ICBMs. So if you took their very biggest ICBMs, you could convert those into a rocket, add an additional stage, and send something to Mars. They kept raising the price on me because I figured, look, they're going to throw these things in the scrapyard anyway.
Yeah.
You should get a really good deal.
Yeah.
Right? So the price started out at 4 million. Then the next conversation, they were at 8 million. Then the next conversation, they were at 19 million. And I'm like, this is before we signed a contract. I don't know if there were other bids, but they didn't mention any other bids.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, if the price is increasing this much before the contract's signed, I'm really going to get fleeced after the contract's signed.
Yeah.
So I got pretty frustrated there. Actually, in some cases, we got into shouting matches in Moscow. Some guy shouting at me in Russian. I'm shouting back in Moscow.
Yeah.
Man, I should have recorded that. That would have been one for them. These conversations took place over probably 6 months or so. And then the final trip there was with Mike Griffin, who later became NASA administrator. I actually realized in the course of this that my original premise was wrong. That America actually has plenty of will to go to Mars, but it just needs a way to go to Mars that is affordable and that doesn't break the budget. I'm not sure most Americans know just how much we were being fleeced. I think they got up to $90 million a seat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. $90 million a seat for a seat that cost them $10 million is high.
Yeah.
Patents for the week. Patents for those who innovate slowly. At Tesla, we actually open sourced a lot of patents. So we said our patents are, anyone can use them for free.
Really?
Yeah. We only do patents at Tesla to avoid patent trolls causing trouble. So we'll try to look ahead and say, okay, patent trolls are going to file patents to block certain things. We'll file patents and then open source the patent, make it free. I mean it when I say patents for the week. Now, there are a few cases in say, with pharmaceuticals where it might cost you $1 billion to do a phase 3 human trial. But then subsequently, the drug is very cheap to manufacture. So there are some, in my opinion, we should massively reduce what can be patented and say, because the whole point of patenting is to maximize innovation, not inhibit it. And in my opinion, it's maybe a controversial opinion, most patents inhibit innovation, they do not help it. But there are cases, I want to single out cases such as a phase 3 clinical trial that might cost $1 billion, but then the drugs thereafter cost a few dollars to manufacture. Right. And if you can then immediately copy those drugs for a few dollars, no one will pay for the $1 billion.
There's a free rider problem.
Free rider problem.
Yeah,
exactly. So you have to address the free rider problem. But other than that, there should be no patents. The ideas are easy. The idea is the easy part. Execution is the hard part. As the old saying goes, it's 1% inspiration, if not less than 1%, and 99% perspiration. Well, I take a physics first principles approach to everything. It's not as though I wanted to in-source manufacturing. It's just that I was unable to outsource it effectively. The idea in the beginning of Tesla was that we would outsource almost all the manufacturing, but then it turned out there were no good companies to outsource manufacturing to, which there wasn't. Really wasn't feasible. Outsourced manufacturing actually is the exception, not the rule. And just over time, we had to insource almost everything for Tesla, and same for SpaceX. I became very good at manufacturing because I had to. There was no choice. At this point, I might know more about manufacturing than any human ever has, because I've manufactured so many different things in so many different arenas. I think probably more than anyone ever has.
How much do you sleep in a given night?
About 6 hours on average. I work almost every waking hour. I don't have social dinners, really.
Right.
I literally I'll have lunch and dinner brought during meetings and continue the meeting. I guess it started out, even with the first company, Zip2, which is a terrible name, but the first internet company, we were able to rent an office, which was like in a leaky attic, essentially, for $500 a month. And the cheapest apartment we could find was $800 a month. So like, and we only had about $5,000 between my brother and I. Mm-hmm. So like, we'll just stay in the office.
Yeah.
So we got some couches that converted into beds, and we'd kind of sleep at night, and then we'd just have to like turn the beds back into couches before anyone came, and then we'd shower at the YMCA down the road, and so that literally was for several months what we did. I was in great shape, work out at the Y. But I still remember that YMCA at Page Mill El Camino in Palo Alto. So it's been, I don't know, I've never thought to count it, but several hundred days maybe? I don't know. I think if someone is a sovereign head of a country, they're de facto richer by a lot. I've sometimes slept at the office, yeah.
These two interviews combined were 60 minutes. I cut those down, saving you this much time. If you appreciate that, make sure to click the like button and subscribe because I cover the latest Elon Musk news as well as some Tesla news as well. And I believe Elon Musk is absolutely right saying that the reason why we are seeing so much pushback, some of it is violent, and all of this hatred is because what he's doing at Doge is actually working. Otherwise, why would they be so upset and angry about some of these cuts that are not necessary, that are clearly going to save the US government a lot of money and make the country overall more productive, which will eventually make the US enter its golden age, uplifting every American. Literally, if you make the government more effective, every single citizen benefits. Why would you be against something like that? The most obvious explanation: you were benefiting from the fraud and the waste that was being produced. And then Elon Musk revealed his true motivations for why he's doing what he's doing with his life. I mean, he could have easily just, when he sold his first company, Zip2, he could have retired permanently, but no, he sold that. He took the money, he then put that into PayPal. He sold that, then he took his money, he put that into SpaceX and Tesla. And now, all the money that he has made from Tesla and everything else, he used a lot of it to buy X and to let everyone speak more freely again without a fear of being banned if you criticize the right current thing. So if you happen to be more on the right side and not on the left side, you can go on X and talk freely without a fear of being banned. And I personally believe that makes a huge difference. And then Elon Musk took some of his time and some of his fame, which he created because he was so successful with Tesla and SpaceX, and then he endorsed the president. He campaigned for him, and then he used his own money without expecting anything in return from the president to improve the turnout rate of voters in the swing states. And Elon Musk continues getting himself into more and more hot waters while he could have just simply retired decades ago now. But Elon Musk is so curious that he wants to understand what is the question we need to ask, to which the answer is the universe. He wants to understand what is the meaning of all this. Where are the aliens? He wants to ensure that our civilization definitely continues. That's why he wants to go to Mars. And to go to Mars, it takes a lot of money. And in previous interviews, Musk said that if he could summarize really everything that he is doing, it would come down to this, is to maximize the probability of the future being good. So if you want to know Elon's motivations, it really, in the end, just comes down to that. And just earlier, Elon Musk gave a new Doge update during which he stunned a US senator. If you'd like to see that, make sure to click here right now. This video is actually part 2 of that. So if you'd like to see part 1, it's right here. It was really good. I highly suggest you watch it right now.